Ever felt stuck in your job, ready for that promotion or raise, but unsure of how to ask? Today, I'm sharing the exact strategy that helps you confidently negotiate your next step, and not just for more money. Today's all about negotiating a promotion or raise, but we're going to do it strategically. I'll show you how to present your value, keep the conversation positive, and most importantly, avoid feeling like you're held hostage in the process. So first things first, asking for a raise or promotion is tough if you feel trapped. So one of the things I always tell my clients is to prepare themselves so that they're not negotiating from fear. You need to have your resume ready, know your market value, and be open to other opportunities if necessary. Now that way you don't feel like you're being held hostage and it puts you in control. Now I've worked with people who had their CV polished, gaps filled, and knew what was out there job-wise. So they weren't afraid to ask for what they deserved. And guess what? That confidence alone changed the dynamic in their conversations. Now let's talk about being clear on what you want. Spoiler alert, it's not always about money. Most people think a raise equals more cash, but sometimes what you're really craving is more opportunity, more responsibility, or just feeling like you're valued by the company. Before you even step into that conversation, take a moment to figure out what it is you really want. Honestly, I've had clients who thought that they just wanted a pay bump, but what they really wanted was a pathway to bigger projects or more leadership and responsibilities. Now, when they reframed the conversation to focus on growth and opportunity, they got both, the promotion and the paycheck. Now here's the thing, you can't just ask for a raise because you want one. You need to show the value you bring to the company. Now often we do our job so well behind the scenes that our bosses may not even know all of the great work that we're doing. I had a client who was brilliant but did all her work quietly. No one noticed until we outlined her impact, and once she presented that to her boss, her value became impossible to ignore. Now sometimes you need to make sure your boss sees what you're doing without making it all about you. So keep track of your achievements. Start writing a career journal, noting all of the small milestones you've hit. It's so easy to forget what you bring to the table on a day-to-day basis when you're in the thick of it. So by keeping a note of everything, you can very quickly highlight this to your boss at those weekly or monthly check-ins. When it comes to asking for a raise or promotion, don't make it me versus them. The key is to approach the conversation as a collaboration. You're both on the same team, so highlight how your growth can benefit the company. Now, most people make the mistake of asking for a raise by comparing their salary to others, whether it's the average market rate or what their colleagues earn. But here's why that doesn't work. When you compare yourself to others, you're putting your boss in a yes-no situation, and this limits their response and can make them defensive. Instead, think of your career as a journey with your company. Now, rather than framing your raise as a demand, frame it as part of your long-term growth. So for example, I've been here through this time, I've been here through that time. I've done this and I've done that. And here is where you highlight that value we talked about earlier, because remember, your boss may not even be aware of everything you do. You can then follow on by explaining how you're committed to growing with the company. Now, this is an important step because you arm your boss with the right tools. Think of this as giving them a cheat sheet for why you're so awesome. Your boss has a boss, and often they have a boss too. So if they need to make a case for your promotion, you want to make it as easy as possible. Highlight the key contributions you've made, but do it without being boastful. Now make sure they know the work you've been doing, especially if you're one of those quiet achievers who just get things done without making a big deal of it. And then comes the time for your ask. So finally, when you're in the conversation, use strategic questions that gets your boss thinking beyond just salary. Now, one of the questions I love is, can we map out a path that helps me achieve my career and financial goals? Now, I like this one because it's direct, but it's also open. Others might be things like, how can I be involved in projects that are critical to the company's future? Or what can I do to get where I want to be? And this changes the dynamic and shows the bigger picture picture. You're showing loyalty and commitment to the organisations, which bosses love to see. You're opening up for a collaborative conversation instead of forcing a decision, and you're positioning yourself as someone who's invested in growth, not just a paycheck. Ultimately, this approach either gets you an immediate raise or sets clear goals for your progression, making it a win-win. Now, I recently worked with a client who took this approach and it completely shifted the narrative of their promotion conversation. So instead of saying, I need a raise, which was their initial plan, they told their boss how they had spotted big opportunities for growth in their role and explained how they would love to help drive that. Now, naturally, this was going to make their boss look good too. So guess what? The conversation turned into a productive discussion about the future, and their boss ended up helping them get a bigger title, get a bigger salary, and they walked away with way more than they ever expected. So look, that's one of the success stories and why going into things with the right attitude is so important. Now, of course, things won't always be so easy, and that's why you should always have a backup plan, as I mentioned earlier. Now, that might be to walk away, and in some cases that might be the best option for you depending on how the conversation goes. However, there is only so many times that you can cut and run before you start getting labelled as a job hopper. Now, this is a call you will need to make for yourself, but typically you can avoid putting yourself in that situation by setting and agreeing clear goals with a pathway forward. So let's say salary is a sticking point. You can always offer alternatives. Maybe you're not able to get an immediate raise or an immediate promotion, but you can map out how you'll be rewarded in future for hitting certain milestones. Now, just remember, if you do this, you need to agree on the goals, you need to agree on the timescales, and you need to agree to revisit your compensation or promotion. This keeps things open and shows your focus on long-term success. Now remember, asking for a raise or promotion isn't a one-time thing and shouldn't come out as a knee-jerk reaction. It's about building momentum consistently, proving your value and maintaining an open dialogue with your boss. Now, if you're strategic about it and keep showing up, you'll be amazed at the opportunities that follow. So there you have it. Those are my top tips for negotiating a raise or promotion. Now, what are you doing to prepare for these conversations? Drop a comment below and let me know your current role and your next goal. And if you enjoyed this video, you should also check out this video where I break down how to negotiate your salary in a job interview. I'll see you there.